The bridge of Luna's ship was a masterpiece of elf engineering, mixed with salvaged human technology. Crystal panels showed the approaching Dark Fleet destroyers, as red dots growing larger every second. Luna sat in the captain's chair, still wearing only her silk robe, while the Zarathian twins stood awkwardly behind her. Ember and Frost perched on special platforms built into the command console. Their eyes connected to the ship's weapon systems through the ancient dragon bond that few understood. Anymore, Luna's fingers danced over the controls, preparing everything for the coming battle. The twins watched her work with fascination. "Your ship is strange," one of them said. "It looks alive, like it has a soul." Luna smiled without looking back. "Star Whisper is partly organic, grown from seeds my people brought from our dying world. She responds to my thoughts and emotions. She is more than a ship. She is my partner in this war." The Dark Fleet destroyers came into visual range. They were massive, black triangles covered in spikes and weapons. Each one was 10 times bigger than Luna's ship. They moved in formation, creating a net that would be impossible to escape. "This is Commander Thrak of the Dark Fleet." The communication system crackled. With a harsh voice, elf warrior, "You have something that belongs to the Void King. Surrender the human children you stole and we might let you die quickly." Luna laughed and opened the channel to respond. "The children are gone, Thrak. I sent them to safety weeks ago. You are too late as always. Your master will be very disappointed in you." The twins tensed as they realized what this meant. Luna had not just killed their brother. She had stolen human children from the Dark Fleet itself. This elf was either very brave or completely insane. Thrak's voice turned angry. "Then you will suffer for your crimes. The Void King has special plans for you, elf. We will take you alive and you will beg for death before the end." Luna turned to the twins. "Your brother was taking those children to Thrak. He was paid in blood crystals enough to buy a small moon, but he made a mistake. He tried to take some elf children too from a refugee camp. That is how I found him." The first twin stepped forward. "How do we fight 3 destroyers with 1 small ship? It is impossible." "Nothing is impossible," Luna said, standing up. "Watch and learn why the Dark Fleet fears me." She placed her hands on 2 crystal spheres that rose from the floor. The ship began to glow with soft blue light. As Luna's elf magic flowed through its systems, Ember and Frost spread their wings and roared tiny sounds that somehow echoed through the entire vessel. The Star Whisper suddenly moved faster than any normal ship could. It spiraled between the destroyers, while firing plasma beams from hidden weapons. The Dark Fleet ships tried to track her movement, but she was already gone, leaving only blue afterimages in space. The twins grabbed onto support beams as the ship spun and dived through space. Luna stood, perfectly balanced, her robe flowing around her as she danced with the controls. Her eyes glowed bright violet as she merged her mind with the ship. Ember breathed fire into a special port that channeled his flames through the ship's weapons. The next plasma blast burned white-hot, punching through the first destroyer's shields. Frost did the same with his ice, turning another blast into a freezing weapon that shattered armor like glass. The Dark Fleet ships fired hundreds of missiles, but Luna flew between them like she was threading a needle. Some missiles hit each other while others flew harmlessly into space. The twins watched in amazement as this single elf woman made fools of the mighty Dark Fleet. But the battle was not easy. The Star Whisper shook as some weapons found their target. Warning lights flashed and Luna could smell smoke from damaged systems. She needed to end this quickly before her ship took critical damage. She turned to the twins. "Can you fight or just watch? We are warriors," the second twin said firmly. "Tell us what to do." Luna pointed to 2 control stations. "Take those positions and target their engines when I give the signal. Your 4 arms can work the controls faster than most species. Use that advantage." Twins moved to the stations and began working the weapon systems. Their 8 eyes could track multiple targets at once while their 4 arms operated different controls simultaneously. They were natural gunners once they understood the system. Luna drove straight at the lead destroyer while the twins fired at the other 2. The Dark Fleet commander could not believe this small ship was attacking head-on. He ordered all weapons to fire, creating a wall of death in space. But Luna had a secret weapon. She reached into a hidden panel and pulled out a small crystal vial. It contained the last tears of the Elf Queen collected before their world died. She poured the liquid onto the ship's core and spoke words in the ancient language, the Star Whisper. Transformed, its hull became like liquid metal flowing and shifting. The ship split into 3 separate pieces, each one still connected by streams of energy. Luna controlled the centerpiece while her dragons each guided one of the others. The twins shouted in surprise as their section of the ship moved independently. They were still connected to Luna through the energy streams, but now they could attack from different angles. This is impossible. Thrax screamed over the communication. No ship can do. This Luna smiled as she coordinated the attack elf magic and human engineering combined with dragon fire. Nothing is impossible when different species work together. Something your master will never understand. The 3 pieces of the ship attacked simultaneously. Luna went high while Ember's section went low and Frost's section attacked from the side. The Dark Fleet destroyers could not defend against attacks from so many directions. The first destroyer exploded as its reactor overloaded. The second lost all power and drifted helplessly in space. The third tried to escape, but the twins working together destroyed its engines with perfect shots. Commander Thrax's voice returned full of rage. The Void King will destroy you all for this. Every world that helped you will burn. Luna brought the ship back together, the 3 pieces merging into one again. She was exhausted from using so much magic, but she had one more message to send. Tell your master that Luna Starweaver protects the innocent. Tell him that as long as one elf lives, one dragon breathes, and one human hopes, he will never win. We are stronger together than he can ever be alone. She cut the communication and turned to the twins who were staring at her with something like respect. Now, do you understand why I killed your brother? He chose to serve evil for profit. I choose to serve good for free. That is the difference between us. The first twin nodded slowly. We need to see the proof you mentioned. We need to know the truth about our brother's actions. Luna gestured to a side console. The security recordings are there. Everything from the moment I found him with the children to his death. Watch it all and decide for yourselves what is true. As the twins reviewed the recordings, their faces grew darker with each moment. They saw their brother laughing as human children cried in cages. They heard him discussing prices for elf younglings. They witnessed his complete lack of mercy or compassion. We did not know, the second twin said quietly. Our brother told us stories of honor and glory, but this is only shame and greed. Luna felt sympathy for them. Family betrayal was the deepest wound. She put a hand on each twin's shoulder. Your brother made his choices, but you can make different ones. The galaxy needs warriors who fight for justice, not profit. Luna Starweaver floated in the zero-gravity chamber of her battleship, letting the sonic waves clean her pale elf skin after 3 days of fighting space raiders. Her long white hair spread around her like a silver cloud, while her 2 dragon companions, Ember and Frost, played in the air currents nearby. The dragons were no bigger than house cats, but their power could destroy entire fleets when needed. The cleaning chamber was her private space where no one could enter without her permissions. Walls were made of living crystal that sang soft melodies from her dead homeworld. She closed her violet eyes and remembered the forests of her childhood before the void. King burned everything she loved. Suddenly the ship shook hard in the emergency. Lights turned red. Someone had attached to her hull without triggering the alarms. Luna grabbed for her weapons, but they were in the next room with her clothes. She was completely naked and vulnerable as the chamber door exploded inward. 2 identical alien figures stepped through the smoke and sparks. They were Zarathian twins, each standing 8 feet tall with blue-scaled skin and 4 arms. Their 8 eyes all focused on her exposed body as she floated there, trying to cover herself with her hands and her flowing hair. The twins did not move or speak. They just stared at her with those unblinking eyes. Luna felt anger rise in her chest, replacing her embarrassment. These creatures had violated her ship and her privacy. Now they would pay the price, even if she had to fight them. Naked Ember and Frost reacted instantly. The fire dragon breathed a stream of orange flames at the first twin, while the ice dragon shot frozen spears at the second. But the Zarathians moved with surprising speed, dodging the attacks and pulling out strange weapons that looked like twisted metal bones. We search for the elf warrior who killed our brother on Mars colony. 7. The twins said in perfect unison, their voices sounding like grinding stone. We have tracked you across 3 star systems, Luna Starweaver. You will answer for his death. Luna laughed as she pushed off the wall, flying toward them through the zero gravity. Her naked form moved like a dancer in the air, beautiful and deadly. At the same time, your brother was a monster who sold human children to the slave mines. I enjoyed watching him die. The first twin fired his weapon, sending purple energy bolts through the air. Luna twisted and spun, avoiding them all while Ember attacked. From above, the dragon's claws raked across the alien's face, drawing green blood. The second twin tried to grab Luna, but Frost froze his arms solid, giving her time to kick him in the chest. The fight moved through the ship as Luna led them away from the cleaning chamber. She needed her weapons and armor, but first she had to survive. The twins were strong and worked together perfectly, but she had spent 300 years training in the warrior arts of her people. They crashed into the main corridor where artificial gravity kicked in. Luna landed on her feet while the twins stumbled, not expecting the sudden change. She ran toward her quarters, her dragons flying beside her. The twins recovered quickly and chased after her. Their heavy footsteps shaking the metal floor, Luna reached her room and dove for her plasma sword on the wall. She spun around just as the twins entered, swinging the glowing blade in a wide arc. They jumped back, barely avoiding being cut in half. Now she felt more confident, even though she was still naked. The sword hummed with power as she held it between herself and the invaders. Ember landed on her left shoulder, while Frost took the right. Their eyes glowed with protective fury, ready to die for their companion who had raised them from eggs. Tell us why you killed our brother. The twins demanded again. He was our clan's greatest warrior. You had no right to execute him. Luna moved forward with slow steps like a predator stalking prey. Your brother captured 40 human children from the refugee ship Mercy. He was going to sell them to the Void King's laboratories, where they would be experimented on until they died screaming. I gave him a clean death, which was more mercy than he deserved. Twins looked at each other, communicating without words. Then they lowered their weapons slightly. Our brother told us he was collecting bounties on dangerous criminals. He said the humans were pirates who had attacked Zarathian trade ships. Your brother lied, Luna said simply. He was working for the Dark Fleet, selling innocent souls for profit. I have video proof if you want to see it. I recorded his confession before I removed his head from his body. The ship's computer suddenly spoke in its mechanical voice warning. Hostile ships approaching 3 Dark Fleet destroyers will arrive in 10 minutes. Captain Luna Protocol. 7 is recommended. Luna cursed in the ancient elf language. The Dark Fleet had found her again. They never stopped hunting her since she had freed those human children. Protocol 7 meant running away, but she could not activate the jump drive with these twins on board. She looked at the Zarathians, who seemed confused by the announcement. You have 2 choices, she said, putting down her sword slightly. You can leave now and escape, or you can stay and fight beside me against the Dark Fleet. But if you stay, you become enemies of the Void King forever. Why would we fight beside our brother's killer? The first twin asked. Because the Dark Fleet is coming for me, but they will destroy you too just for being here, Luna explained. They do not leave witnesses. They will burn your ship and hunt your clan to extinction, just to keep their secrets safe. Your brother was working for them, and now they come to clean up loose ends. The twins looked at each other again. This time, Luna saw fear in their 8 eyes. They knew about the Dark Fleet and what happened to those who crossed them. Their weapons would be useless against 3 destroyers. We will stay and fight, the second twin said. But after this battle, we want to see your proof about our brother. We want to know the truth. Luna nodded and finally grabbed a robe from her closet, wrapping it around herself. The silk fabric clung to her still damp skin, but at least she was covered now. Ember and Frost relaxed slightly but kept watching the twins with suspicious eyes. Follow me to the bridge, Luna commanded. We have 10 minutes to prepare for battle against impossible odds, my favorite kind of fight. 3 days after the battle, Luna received an emergency signal from Earth Base Alpha, the last free human colony hidden in an asteroid field near Jupiter. Commander Katie Brooks appeared on the screen. her face drawn with exhaustion and fear. Luna, "We are under attack, but not from the Dark Fleet," Katie said quickly. "Someone inside the colony is killing our leaders. 3 council members are dead. We need your help before it is too late." The Zorathian twins, who had decided to stay and help Luna, after learning the truth about their brother, stood beside her on the bridge. They had proven themselves useful allies in the past days, helping repair the ship and sharing information about Dark Fleet operations. "We will come immediately," Luna said, setting course for the asteroid field. "How many humans live in Earthbase Alpha?" "Now almost 15,000, Katie replied. "The last free humans in the galaxy, including 5,000 children. We cannot lose this colony." "Luna, it would mean the end of humanity." The journey took 2 days through dangerous space full of Dark Fleet patrols and automated defense systems. Luna used her elf magic to hide the ship's energy signature, while the twins operated the weapons, keeping watch for threats. Ember and Frost rested on their platform, saving their strength for whatever waited ahead. During the journey, Luna taught the twins about humans and why they deserved protection. She told them stories from before the Great War, when humans ruled Earth with kindness and creativity. They had welcomed the elves when they arrived as refugees, sharing their world without demanding payment. "Humans are physically weak compared to most species," Luna explained as they flew past the ruins of an old human space station. "But their strength comes from something else. They have hope even when everything seems lost. They show mercy even to enemies. They love without conditions." The first twin, who had started calling himself Zax, asked, "Why did the Void King target them specifically? What threat could humans pose to someone so powerful?" Luna smiled sadly. "The Void King fears what he cannot understand. Humans have something no other species has. They can make others want to be better. They inspired the elves to share our magic. They taught the dragons that size does not determine worth. They showed the universe that cooperation is stronger than domination." The second twin, who chose the name Cole, nodded thoughtfully. "Our brother never understood this. He only saw weakness to exploit. But you saw strength worth protecting." When they reached the asteroid field, Luna had to navigate carefully. Earthbase Alpha was hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid surrounded by mines and defensive satellites. The humans had done well to survive this long, but their technology was old and failing. The docking bay was chaos when they arrived. Humans ran everywhere carrying supplies and weapons. Their faces showed fear but also determination. Luna noticed how they protected their children, keeping them in the center of groups away from danger. Commander Katie met them at the ship. Her gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She carried an old Earth rifle that looked like it belonged in a museum, but her grip was steady and sure. "Thank you for coming," Katie said, then noticed the twins. "These are Zorathians. Are they friends or enemies?" "Friends," Luna assured her. "They have chosen to stand with us. Now tell me about these murders." Katie led them through metal corridors, lined with pipes and cables. Everything was patched and repaired multiple times. The colony was barely holding together, but the humans had made it home with painted walls and small gardens growing under artificial lights. The victims were all council members who voted to open negotiations with the Dark Fleet. Katie explained, "Some people think we should surrender and accept slavery if it means our children survive. Others want to fight to the death." They entered a medical bay where 3 bodies lay covered in white sheets. Luna pulled back one sheet and gasped. The human had strange marks on his neck that glowed with faint purple light. "This is void magic," Luna said, anger rising in her voice. "Someone here has been touched by the Void King's power. They are being controlled or influenced." Zax examined the marks with his forearms. "These are similar to slave brands used on our world. The victim's life force was drained slowly and painfully. This is not just murder. It is feeding suddenly." The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. Screams echoed from other parts of the colony. Luna drew her plasma sword while the twins readied their weapons. Ember and Frost launched from Luna's shoulders, flying ahead to scout. Their eyes could see in complete darkness, and their bond with Luna let her see through them. She witnessed humans running from something in the shadows, something that moved wrong. Katie raised her rifle. We need to protect the children. First, they are gathered in the central hall for safety. Luna nodded, but then Frost sent her a mental image that made her blood freeze. The children were not in the central hall. They were being led somewhere else by a figure in a dark cloak. Someone is taking the children, Luna said, running toward Frost's location. The others followed their footsteps echoing in the metal corridors. They found the central hall empty, except for unconscious guards. Luna checked their pulses and found them alive, but deeply asleep with the same purple marks appearing on their skin. Void sleep magic. Luna explained. They will not wake for hours. We must find those children now. Cole pointed to small footprints in dust on the floor. They went this way toward the old mining tunnels. The mining tunnels were the oldest part of the colony carved by humans when they first arrived. They went deep into the asteroid where the walls were rough rock instead of metal. Strange purple crystals had started growing from the walls, pulsing with unnatural light. Luna heard children crying ahead. She ran faster, her elf speed making her blur. The twins struggled to keep up, but their determination pushed them forward. Katie breathed hard, but never stopped following. They entered a large cavern where hundreds of human children stood in circles around a massive purple crystal formation. In the center was a figure Luna knew too well. Ambassador Helen Gray, the human woman who had been pushing for surrender, but Helen was no longer fully human. Her skin had purple veins running through it, and her eyes glowed with void energy. She was drawing life force from the children, feeding it into the crystal stop. This now, Luna commanded, pointing her sword at Helen. Helen turned and smiled with too many teeth. The Void King promised me immortality if I deliver these children. Their innocent souls will open a portal for his army to arrive. You are betraying your own species, Luna said, moving closer. How could you do this? Helen laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Humanity is doomed anyway. At least this way I survive. The strong must sacrifice the weak. Zax and Cole moved to flank Helen while Katie aimed her rifle, but Helen raised her hand, and purple energy knocked them all back except Luna, who stood firm, her elf magic protecting her. The children cried louder as more of their energy was pulled away. Some of the smaller ones collapsed, and Luna felt rage build in her chest. Ember and Frost circled above, waiting for an opening. You want to see strength, Luna said, her voice deadly calm. Let me show you what real strength looks like. She charged forward faster than Helen could react. Her sword cut through the purple energy, while Ember breathed fire at the crystal. Frost created ice walls protecting the children from the magical backlash. Helen screamed and pulled out a void blade, a weapon of pure darkness. She fought Luna with inhuman speed and strength, but Luna had centuries of training and the fury of a protector. Their battle shook the cavern as magic clashed against magic. The twins helped Katie evacuate the children, carrying the unconscious ones to safety. But some children stayed and watched, their eyes wide with fear and hope. A young boy, no more than 6 years old, picked up a rock and threw it at Helen. It did no damage, but the act of defiance inspired others. More children began throwing rocks and debris, distracting Helen for just a moment. That moment was all Luna needed. She spun past Helen's guard and drove her sword through the traitor's chest. Helen gasped, purple blood flowing from the wound. The Void King will still come, Helen whispered as she died. You have only delayed the inevitable. Luna pulled out her sword, and Helen's body crumbled to purple dust. The crystal began to crack and break apart, its power source gone. The cavern started shaking as the unnatural formation collapsed. Everyone out now, Luna shouted, grabbing 2 small children. The twins and Katie helped evacuate everyone as the tunnels began falling apart. They barely made it to safety before the entire mining section collapsed. The children were scared, but alive, though some would need medical attention. Luna felt exhausted from the battle, but satisfied that she had saved them. Katie looked at the rescued children, then at Luna. Thank you. Without you, we would have lost everything. Luna shook her head. No. Katie, your people saved themselves. That boy who threw the first rock showed more courage than most warriors. He inspired others to fight back even when they had no chance of winning. That is why. The destruction of the Void Crystal gave Earth Base Alpha only 3 days of peace before the real nightmare began. Every scanner in the colony screamed warnings as a massive fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system. Not just dark fleet ships, but the Void King himself in his world-killer vessel Luna stood on the observation deck watching the approaching doom. The Void King's ship was the size of a small moon made from the bones of dead planets and powered by stolen souls. It moved slowly, but nothing could stop it once it arrived. Commander Katie gathered all 15,000 humans in the Great Hall to deliver what might be their final speech. Luna watched from the balcony with Zax and Cole. Beside her, Ember and Frost perched on the railing, their scales dim with worry. My fellow humans, Katie began, her voice strong despite the fear. We face our darkest hour. The Void King comes to destroy us because we dare to exist free. We have 2 choices. We can run and hide, hoping to survive a little longer, or we can stand and fight, showing the universe that humanity will not go quietly into the night. An old man stood up from the crowd, his back bent with age but his voice clear. I was 10 years old when Earth died. I watched our blue skies turn black and our oceans boil. I have been running for 70 years. I am tired of running. A young mother holding a baby stood next. If we must die, then let us die as humans with courage and defiance. Let our children see that we did not surrender our souls even when faced with a god of darkness. More humans stood up one by one until all 15,000 were on their feet. They began to sing an old Earth song that Luna had heard before about standing together against the storm. Their voices filled the hall with a power that had nothing to do with magic. Luna felt something wet on her cheek and realized she was crying. These humans knew they could not win, but they chose to fight anyway. Not for victory, but for the principle of resistance. This was why she protected them. Zax turned to Luna, his forearms gesturing confusion. They have no chance against the Void King. Why do they not despair? Because despair is surrender, Luna replied. And humans never truly surrender even when they die. They pass their hope to others like a flame that cannot be extinguished. Katie finished her speech and found Luna in the crowd. Luna Starweaver, you have protected us when no one else would. Whatever happens next, know that humanity will remember your name forever. Luna stood and addressed the crowd. I have lived for 400 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species choose between good and evil, but never have I seen courage like yours. You face a god with nothing but determination and love for each other. That is true strength. She raised her plasma sword high. The Void King thinks you are weak because you have no magic, no advanced technology, no great physical power, but he is wrong. You have something he can never understand. You have each other, and that makes you stronger than any darkness. The crowd cheered, and Luna felt their hope like a physical force. It reminded her of the old stories about human warriors who fought impossible battles not to win, but to prove that evil could be resisted. Over the next day, Luna worked with Katie to prepare defenses. They had few weapons and fewer ships, but they used everything available. Old mining equipment became bombs, farming tools became spears. Children helped by making barriers from furniture and scrap metal. The Zorathian twins were amazed by the human creativity. They watch everything become a weapon, Cole observed. Even their musical instruments are being turned into communication devices. Humans adapt, Luna said. That is their greatest gift. When the universe takes everything from them, they make new tools from nothing. The Void King's fleet stopped just outside the asteroid field. His world killer could destroy the entire colony with one shot, but he waited. Luna knew why. He wanted them to feel fear first. He fed on terror and despair. A hologram appeared in the colony showing the Void King himself. He was ancient and terrible, a being of shadow and malice with eyes like dying stars. His voice was the sound of civilizations ending, humans and those who protect them. The Void King said, I offer you one final chance. Surrender the elf and her dragons to me, and I will make your deaths quick. Refuse, and I will trap your souls in eternal torment." The humans did not hesitate. Their answer came from 5,000 children singing together the same song from the Great Hall. Their young voices carried through the communication system, reaching the Void King's fleet. The Void King's rage shook space itself. "How dare these insects mock me? Begin the attack, but take the elf alive. I want her to watch every human die slowly." The battle began with swarms of fighter ships pouring from the Void fleet. Luna took her ship out with volunteer human pilots. In patched-together vessels, they were outnumbered 1,000 to 1. But they flew with desperate courage. Zax and Cole operated the colony's defense cannons, ancient human weapons that should have been in museums. But the twins had learned from watching humans that old tools could still serve if used with determination. The first wave of attacks killed hundreds of humans. Their ships exploded in space, but more volunteers took their place. Teenagers who had just learned to fly threw themselves at enemy formations to buy seconds of time. Luna fought with tears streaming down her face. Every human death hurt her soul, but she could not stop to mourn Ember, and Frost channeled their power through her ship, turning it into a weapon of vengeance. But it was not enough. Then something unexpected happened. Ships appeared from behind Jupiter's moons, not dark fleet vessels, but a collection of different species, remnants of the Star Alliance races that the Void King had conquered, but not completely. Destroyed. A message came through from the lead ship. "This is Captain Vera of the Free Tribes. We heard the human children singing. We remember when humans helped our peoples before the darkness came. We stand with Earth Base." Alpha more ships appeared. From hiding places throughout the solar system, species that had been enemies now united by the memory of human kindness. They were still outnumbered but no longer alone. The Void King spoke again, his voice full of disbelief. "Impossible, these species were broken." They had no hope left. Luna understood what had happened. The human children's song had reminded these species of what they were fighting for. Not survival, but the idea that good could exist in the universe. The humans had given them back their hope. The battle intensified as the Allied fleet engaged the Dark Fleet. Katie coordinated from the colony using human intuition to predict enemy movements. The humans might not have advanced technology, but they understood sacrifice and teamwork. A young human pilot named Marcus flew his damaged ship directly into the Void King's world killer, targeting what looked like a weak point. His ship exploded but created a small crack in the massive vessel's armor. That crack was all Luna needed. She looked at her dragons, knowing what she had to ask them. "Ember and Frost, my beloved companions, I need you to fly into that crack and destroy the world killer's core from inside." The dragons understood this was a one-way mission. They nuzzled against Luna one last time, then flew from her ship. Their small forms raced through the battle, avoiding thousands of weapons as they headed for the crack. Luna watched them go, feeling her heart break. She had raised them from eggs, and they were her closest friends. But they flew without hesitation because they had learned from humans that some things were worth dying for. The dragons entered the world killer through the crack. Their fire and ice combined in a reaction that should have been impossible, creating a chain reaction in the vessel's core. The world killer began to shake and crack from inside. The Void King screamed in rage and pain as his greatest weapon died. He had never imagined that two small dragons could destroy a ship the size of a moon. But he had underestimated the power of sacrifice as the world killer exploded. Luna felt Ember and Frost's final thoughts through their bond. They were not afraid. They were proud to die protecting the innocent, just as the humans had taught them. The explosion damaged much of the Dark Fleet, but the Void King himself survived in a smaller vessel. His rage now focused entirely on the human colony. He would destroy them with his own hands. Luna turned her ship toward him, knowing this was her final battle. She had no dragons and her magic was nearly exhausted, but she would not let the Void King reach the humans while she still breathed. "Wait," a voice said, over the communication. It was Marcus, the human pilot everyone thought had died. His ship had been destroyed, but he was floating in space wearing only an emergency suit. And he was holding something, Marcus floated in the void of space holding a small device that glowed with soft white light. It was an old human datapad containing something the Void King never expected to see: the complete historical records of every species the darkness had destroyed. "This is for you, Void King," Marcus broadcast, his voice weak but determined. "The memories of 1,000,000,000,000 souls you murdered. They want you to remember them." The datapad exploded with light, not physical but spiritual. Every ghost of every being the Void King had killed appeared in space. Their forms were translucent, but their presence was real. They surrounded the Void King's ship in a sphere of accusation. Luna watched in amazement as the ghosts began to sing. It was the same song the human children had sung, but now in 1,000,000 different languages. The Void King tried to flee, but the spirits followed him wherever he moved. "You cannot escape your crimes," a ghostly elf elder said. "You fed on our fear, but now you must taste our justice." The Void King's ship shook as the spirits pressed closer. His dark magic failed against their combined will. He had spent eons consuming souls, but never considered they might remember and return. Luna saw her chance. She flew straight at the Void King's ship while he was distracted. Her vessel was damaged and her magic nearly gone, but she had one last plan. She would ram his ship and detonate her core. But the human ships formed a wall in front of her, blocking her path. Katie's voice came through. "The communication, Luna. No, you have given enough. Let us finish this." Luna tried to protest, but realized every human ship was moving into attack formation. They were going to ram the Void King together, sacrificing themselves to end the threat. "Please," Luna, Katie said softly. "You are the last elf. If you die, your entire species ends with you. We humans are many, but you are one. Live for us, remember us. That is all we ask." Before Luna could respond, the human fleet accelerated. Old mining ships, cargo haulers, even civilian transports, all racing toward the Void King. He tried to destroy them with dark magic, but the ghosts interfered with his power. 15 human ships hit the Void King simultaneously. Their explosions created a star for just a moment. The ancient evil screamed as his physical form was destroyed and his essence scattered to the cosmic winds. But the explosion was too close to Earth Base Alpha. The colony's asteroid began breaking apart. Katie's final message reached Luna: "Get our children to safety." Please. Luna raced back to the colony as it collapsed. She used the last of her magic to hold sections together while Zax and Cole helped evacuate survivors. They saved 8,000 humans before the asteroid finally shattered. Half of humanity died that day, including Commander Katie Brooks and all the brave pilots who had rammed the Void King. But they had won. The greatest evil in the galaxy was dead, and the Dark Fleet scattered without their master. Luna floated in space, surrounded by escape pods filled with human survivors. She was exhausted beyond measure and grieving for her dragons and all the humans who had died. But then she heard something that gave her hope. The children in the escape pods were singing. They sang for their dead parents, for the heroes who saved them, and for the future they now had. Their voices carried across the communication systems, reaching every surviving ship. The allied species who had come to help were crying. Even species that had no tear ducts found ways to weep. They had forgotten what hope sounded like until human children reminded them. In the days that followed, Luna worked with Zax and Cole to find safe places for the human survivors. Many species offered to take them. In remembering ancient debts to humanity, the humans would be scattered, but they would survive. A year later, Luna stood on New Eden, a planet given to humans by the grateful Carbon Alliance. 2,000 human children played in real sunlight. For the first time in their lives, they had fields to run in and clean air to breathe. Zax and Cole had become protectors of the colony, teaching human children how to defend themselves while learning human values of mercy and compassion. The Zorathian twins had found purpose in protecting those their brother had tried to destroy. Luna watched a young human girl named Sophie approach her. She was the daughter of Marcus, the pilot who had released the ghosts. Sophie held something in her small hands. "Miss Luna, I found these in the garden," she said shyly. Luna gasped as she saw 2 small eggs, one red and one white. Dragon eggs, somehow impossibly here on this world. She took them gently, feeling warmth pulse through the shells. Sophie smiled. "Mama told me." Before she died, that hope always finds a way. She said humans taught the universe that even the smallest light can defeat the darkness. Luna held the eggs close to her chest, feeling new life stirring within them. She looked at the human children, playing at the dragons flying overhead, at the mixed species working together to build homes. The Void King had been wrong. Humans were not weak because they lacked magic or advanced technology. They were the strongest species in the galaxy because they made everyone around them stronger. They turned enemies into friends and despair into hope. As the sun set on New Eden, Luna began telling the children the story of the battle, making sure they understood their heritage and the price paid for their freedom. She told them about Commander Katie and Marcus and all the heroes who chose to die rather than surrender. But most importantly, she told them about the human spirit that had inspired a lonely elf to fight against impossible odds. That had taught dragons that size did not matter. That had reminded broken species how to hope again. The children listened with wide eyes, absorbing every word. They would grow up knowing they were part of something greater, that their species had changed. The galaxy not through force but through simple human courage and kindness. Late that night, Luna sat alone with the dragon eggs, warming them with her body heat. She sang them the human song that had started everything, the song that had called allies from hiding and turned the tide of battle. A small crack appeared in the red egg, then another in the white. Luna watched as two tiny dragons emerged, identical to Ember and Frost, but somehow different. They looked at her with ancient eyes that held memories of their predecessors. She named them Hope and Defiance and raised them on stories of human courage. They grew strong on New Eden, protecting human children as their parents had done before them. Years passed, and humanity slowly recovered. Their numbers grew and their colonies spread. They never forgot the price of their freedom or the elf who had stood with them. When no one else would, Luna lived another 1,000 years, watching humanity rise from near extinction to become the heart of a new galactic alliance. They never developed magic or built the most advanced technology, but they did something better. They taught the galaxy that strength came from unity, that courage could defeat any darkness, and that hope was the most powerful force in existence. And whenever anyone asked Luna why she had risked everything for humanity, she would smile and say simply, "Because they showed me that being weak in body, but strong in spirit, is the greatest power of all. They proved that love and sacrifice can defeat any evil. They reminded me that we are never alone as long as we stand together." The story of Luna Starweaver and humanity's last stand became legend, told on 1,000,000 worlds. But more than that, it became proof that sometimes the smallest light can indeed defeat the greatest darkness if it has the courage to shine.